You know, we've all had that colleague, right? The one who's an absolute genius at their job, but just isn't a great person to be around. Well, today, we're going to unpack why kindness is not some soft, nice-to-have skill at work. It's actually the very heart of real, effective leadership. And we're going to dive into a framework that helps you see it, measure it, and most importantly, put it into practice.
Wow. This quote really cuts right to the chase, doesn't it? It just completely flips the script on the old idea that all that matters is how long you've been in the game or your technical skills. It makes you stop and ask a much deeper question. What really makes a great leader?
So let's dig into that question. This first part is all about looking past the resume, beyond just years of experience. We're about to see why how you treat people isn't just a bonus, it's the actual foundation of incredible leadership.
And this is the key. The whole game changes when we shift our focus from what a leader knows to how a leader acts and makes other people feel. It's not about mastering a formula in a spreadsheet. It's about mastering human connection with real empathy and respect. So, where does that even come from?
Well, turns out it's not something you just learn in a weekend workshop. It's a way of being. It's something that gets shaped by our lives, by our parents, our teachers, our friends, our role models. Every little moment of kindness we see or do, it builds up over time. And what's really amazing is that a leader who gets this can actually stop a negative cycle of unkindness in its tracks and start a whole new, better pattern for their team.
And that brings us right to the central idea. Real leadership is all about relationships. It's not about one person shining, it's about building a community. It means shifting the entire mindset from me to we. Let's take a look at what that really looks like when you put it side by side with the more, let's say, traditional approach.
Okay, this chart tells the whole story. Over on the left, you've got the me-first leader. We've all met this person. It's all about their own success, hitting their numbers, and honestly, this approach often gets promoted. But then look to the right, the relational leader. This is the person who lifts everyone up, who leads with courage and empathy, and who goes out of their way to make sure other people can succeed. Their impact is huge, even when no one's looking. And here's the kicker. So many companies still reward the me-first style, even when it's the relational leader who builds the teams that actually last.
So, if that relational style is the goal, how do we make it happen? How do we take this big idea of kindness and make it something we can actually see and work on? Well, that's where this incredible tool comes in, and it's really the core of what we're talking about today, the 6 Stages Framework.
The 6 Stages Framework, or SSF, basically gives us a map for kindness at work. It helps us move past those generic company values posters on the wall and look at real, observable behaviors and mindsets. You can think of it like a diagnostic tool, a way to see where your team or your whole company really is on the kindness spectrum. All right, let's walk through this spectrum. We're going to journey all the way from one end, where there's active resistance to kindness, to the other, where the entire culture is transformed by it. This is going to give us a much clearer picture of the workplaces we're a part of. Okay, here's the framework at a glance. Down at the bottom, in the negative numbers, you've got resistance and denial. This is where kindness is only for a chosen few. Right in the middle, at 0, you have this passive and unaware stage. People are polite, sure, but they're blind to who's being left out. Then you get into the good stuff. The positive stages, +1 to 3, are about being conscious and growing. This is where people start actively looking for the voices that are missing. And at the very top, that's where it's transformational. Kindness isn't just an action, it's baked into the company's DNA. For now, let's really zoom in on the 2 extremes to see how different they are.
Let's start at the bottom of the barrel, so to speak. This is where you find active resistance to kindness, and even denial that there's a problem. Honestly, these places don't just feel unkind, they can feel truly toxic.
So, in these workplaces, kindness is basically a weapon. It's only shown to the in-crowd. Respect isn't something everyone gets, it's something you earn based on your job title. You see outright disrespect, and it just gets brushed off as, oh, it's just banter, or that's just how business is. And maybe the worst part? If you're brave enough to call it out, you get slapped with a label, you're difficult or not a team player. And yeah, this is what you hear. Phrases like, you're being too sensitive, or the classic, that's just how we do things around here. They're conversation enders, designed to protect a broken system. I'm sure some of those sound pretty familiar.
Okay, let's take a deep breath and leave all that behind. Let's jump to the complete opposite end of the spectrum. This is the goal. This is what we should all be aiming for, where kindness is part of the very fabric of the organization.
In these amazing cultures, kindness is actually built into the system. You have policies that are there specifically to protect people's emotional well-being. Respect isn't some show you put on for the boss, it's just the default setting. Leaders here don't just talk about inclusion, they actively find and amplify voices that have been ignored in the past. And when people make mistakes, it's not about blame, it's about learning. What can we learn from this together?
So, we've got on quite a journey here, from the absolute worst to the absolute best. Now, for this last part, it's time to turn that lens from the outside world inward, onto ourselves. Looking at this whole framework, where do you see yourself, or your team, maybe even your whole company? It's a big question, I know, but just figuring out where you are right now, well, that's the most important first step you can take.
And that really brings us to the single most important takeaway of all this. After seeing this whole spectrum, it becomes so obvious that kindness isn't just some warm, fuzzy feeling.
It's a practice. It's something you do. It's a series of conscious choices and actions that you make, day in and day out. And over time, those choices build a stronger, kinder pattern. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. You don't have to fix everything overnight. Based on everything we've talked about, what's just one small thing, one single step forward you could take this week to practice kindness and move yourself or your team just a little further along on this journey? Thanks for exploring this with me today.